up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 13, episode 9. So let's get into it. All right, y'all, so let's get a little spicy before we get into this review. I want to talk about this screenshot that I've held on to since last season because I just had a feeling that this whole Dina and Dolores situation was going to come about, and I just want to talk about it. I feel like it gets lost in translation about what Dolores did to Dina and why Dina doesn't fool with Dolores. So this happened, like I said, last year, but Dina pretty much confirmed that Dolores and Caroline, which we all knew, wrote a letter to like a character witness statement for the people that caused her bodily harm and broke into her house. So it goes like this. A page called Real Housewives of Bravo left a comment saying, "Love that you and at Dina remained friends in spite of Caroline's ultimatum to her sister." This was a comment under a picture Teresa had posted. So another commenter says, "At the Real Housewives of Bravo, look what Caroline, the so-called all for and about family, did to Dina, her sister. She wrote that letter for Dina's ex-husband after his alleged involvement in her burglary and being attacked. No wonder Dina chose Teresa and never listened to her sister." Then another person comments saying Dolores wrote the letter to exonerate Dina's ex from the beating and burglary. And then another person responded back saying, "I thought it was just Caroline who wrote it. So if it was Dolores, why is Teresa still friends with her? I mean, that comes across as no loyalty towards Dina. If a friend of mine did that to another, I wouldn't bother with her again. Loyalty means everything to me and family and friends." And Dina responded saying both did. So pretty much both Dolores and Caroline wrote a character statement to exonerate or help the case of her ex-husband, who allegedly was involved in this burglary and this assault. So I feel like it gets lost in translation when everyone's like thinking that it's petty, but it's not petty. They got real beef. But let's get into this review. All right, y'all, this is going to be short and sweet and to the point. So we find out that Teresa will not be in this episode. She popped up with the Rona. So she got a quarantine. The only time we saw her is when she had a conversation with Danielle. So let's talk about Danielle. Danielle's on FaceTime with Teresa and pretty much telling Teresa that, like wanting to get the 411 about what happened between Joe and Melissa, Teresa and Louis after she left the party at Rachel Fuda's house when they was down at the shore. And Teresa tells her the story. She says pretty much that Louis came back from the car after having the conversation with Joe and Melissa, and them leaving, crying, and it felt like a show to me. He talked about he called his sister crying on the phone. Honestly, how do I say this? Louis could be hurt or could be like saddened by the way Melissa, Teresa, Joe treat each other, but I don't think it's to that extent where he needs a hug and someone patting him on the back and he need to call his sisters. It feels like Louis, and a lot of people are starting to do this now. Like I just read an article about how a lot of millennials and even people from Gen Z and older above, because I'm a millennial, above my generation, are going to therapy and they're starting to use talking points from therapy. And it's like, you're not qualified, in the way in which you're using this information or this tool is also manipulative. Because I feel like Louis puts on this show kind of like what Medium Joe said, but in some ways when he says things he's right, but it's just like something about you is still off to me, sir. So Teresa was on the phone telling Danielle she feels bad because she doesn't like the way Louis is being treated, because it's just like, I'm embarrassed about how bad our situation is because he comes from such a loving and caring family. And it's like, yeah, but there's something about Louis that is condescending and very like manipulative. Like I said before, something about Louis seems slimy, like very like, I can't put my finger on it, but something about him just seems very like unauthentic. Like he is putting on this show for Teresa and for everybody because he wants to look like the good guy, but behind closed doors, he is probably a menace in that house. It's giving that. It's really giving that. And then Danielle talks about walking away, and she was like, I hate walking away. And I'm like, you need to stop it because it's getting old. But she was just talking about how, in high school, she was bullied. She used to play sports. A lot of her friends were guys, and girls did not like that. She said people was keying her car. I said, girl, it's never that deep. They was really out here keying your car. She said people were keying her car. She was like, people were just nasty. The women were like, girls were really nasty to her because she was surrounded by the guys. And that's true, though. I have a friend who in high school, she was a part of the athletics department. So like she would help with like stretching the football players. Like, what is it called? Is it like assistant? Something like that. Like her and a couple of other girls were all a part of that, where they would do practice with the boys. They would make sure they had all their stuff. They were pretty much assistants to the coach. So they would be there on the field. And she's told me stories about how people were very disrespectful to her, especially girls, because they liked the guys that she was helping and they always felt like there was something going on with them. And she would always be like, I see these dudes as brothers. I don't want neither one of them. But they were still nasty and rude to her. So I believe Danielle when she says that. But the truth of the matter is, Danielle, you're not in high school anymore. You're like a woman in her like probably in your 40s. I think Rachel is the youngest one in her 30s. So it's like either go to therapy or realize that you are beyond that. Be happy you didn't peak in high school and move forward. But you're on a reality show, so you're going to have to engage and stop walking away because it's getting old. We get to Rachel, and pretty much we find out that Rachel wants to adopt her stepson, Jaden. And it's kind of weird because the pivot from her wanting to use the rest of her embryos to now wanting to adopt Jaden, it sounds to me that John sat her down and told her, like, sis, we don't have money for another kid, so figure out how you gonna get your fulfillment. As well as, I think it's kind of wild for you to want another kid when you just popped out a fresh baby. Like, girl, slow down. But we find out that she wants to adopt him. I think she said her and John got married in 2017. I think she said, I don't remember what age she said she came into Jaden's life, but she's been there for the long haul and she would like to adopt him. We get a little bit more information about Jaden's mom and John's relationship. We find out that John and Jaden's mom got together when they were like 18 or 19 and things kind of went downhill from there. It was a very toxic relationship and John decided to take the initiative and get full custody of his son. Rachel talks about how, she's only met the lady a few times and each time that they met, it hasn't really been the best experience. She talked about wanting to protect him and how awkward it was that like she was telling Jaden's biological mom like, these are his friends. These are the grades he's making, this, and this. And she didn't really know none of that. But she was like, I really want to adopt him. She also was kind of upset that she found out that like Jaden's mom is probably going to have to sign off on the adoption. And she was just like, why? But to me, I feel like there's more to this story. The same way everybody thinks there's more to Danielle's story, I feel like there's more to this story with Rachel. And if I was Rachel, I would be cautious about speaking negatively about Jaden's mom. And because the thing is, the lady could be trash. She could be horrible, a piss poor mother. But a lot of women, when I was looking at the episode and like I was looking at what people were saying on the hashtag and even on the different IG pages, people were feeling some type of way about what Rachel said. Some people were like, they love the fact that Rachel feels protective over her stepson and she loves him and things like that. But they were like, you should tread lightly on speaking ill about his mom because at the end of the day, he's going to see you speaking negatively about her. And there might be more to the story than you think. So, I mean, a lot of people were like, there's 3 sides to the story. It's your side, the other person's side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth because everybody's perspective perspective of the situation is different. But if this is in his best interest, then I'd be happy if he gets adopted. Hopefully they ask him because he's of age to say yes or no. And if he says yes, then I think they should go forward. If he says no, then they should back off and let him be. So we then have a scene of Dolores and Jennifer finally sitting down to actually have a conversation. We find out that Paulie actually likes Jennifer, and he felt some type of way about Jennifer and Dolores falling out because he thinks they have a wonderful relationship and he knows how much Dolores cares about Jennifer. Jennifer actually apologizes about getting mad at Dolores and saying the things that she said because she just said, like, I just felt like you left me out there to dry. She was just kind of like, you've dealt with infidelity and I just thought you were going to have my back. But no, Dolores, you had Margaret's back and you were telling me that I dig and I deserve this. And it hurt because I love you so much. And Dolores said, I love you too. You act like I don't want to be friends with you. I want to be friends with you, but I'm going to defend you when you're right and I'm going to tell you when you're wrong. And Jennifer pretty much says, you know what? I don't want to fight with you anymore because I do love you and I do want you to be a part of my life. And I'm going to tell you, like, when you say things that offend me, like I deserve this and I do this and I'm undefendable, I will let you know when that hurts me. And Dolores said the same thing. And they pretty much moved on. They didn't get on the topic about Bill and how Jennifer is just like she tired. And Dolores talks about how, when I was raising my kids, I raised my kids without a husband, so it was a lot easier for me to move past it. You're raising your kids with your husband, and there was no love between me and Frank, but there's love between you and Bill. And Jennifer's whole thing is like, stop telling me what I'm doing wrong, and if you're not going to help, then shut up about it. We find out that Bill be coming home and going straight to the pool house and just disregarding everyone while she's stuck up in the house with the children. She tired, and she just wants some help. She tired of being a single mom in a marriage, and so she wants more help. We then find out that at the end of the day, group event is going to be at Paulie's house, and it's going to be like a psychic tea reading. So before everyone sits down to do the psychic reading, once they get to Paulie's house, it was a nice setup. Dolores always seems like she got the good snacks and the good food. Everyone looked nice for the most part. I don't know. I feel like Rachel's hair should always be down. That bun on the top of her head, even though it was a nice bun, made her head look really small. Like really, really small. And I didn't like it. But we find out that Teresa asked Jennifer and Dolores to be her bridesmaids. And Margaret and Melissa was a little taken aback. People felt like Melissa was unbothered. Melissa is pressed. And the thing about it is, Teresa did ask Melissa to be in her wedding, but Melissa rescinded it because she was like, no, like, I'm not going to be second best. So I feel like even though you weren't invited in the beginning, but then got an invite, you can't be mad who she decides to put in her wedding. It's just that. They're saying that Dina decided not to be in the wedding because there was a bad business transaction between Louis and Dina's boyfriend. But I heard a podcast snippet, and Dina pretty much said she was uncomfortable with being around all the cameras, like her anxiety was starting to pick up. But two things could be true. We find this out because Medium Joe pretty much tells us that Louis is pushing everybody away from Teresa, and that I guess Louis and Dina's fiance went into business together, and Dina's fiance felt like he got shafted. So he was like, yeah, I'm not fooling with them no more. Melissa kind of looks like she's a little perturbed, but she gonna hold it and act unbothered. They all sit down and decide to do the psychic reading. It was pretty much like you sip on the tea and the psychic was reading the tea leaves. Everyone pretty much had a positive reading. We saw Margaret get emotional talking about her stepkids, which I feel like that's probably one thing Margaret genuinely regrets is cheating on her husband. And I don't think she regrets cheating on her husband. I think she regrets the backlash of like those kids choosing their biological daddy and severing ties with her, because she got very emotional in the confessional. And I was like, dang, you probably really miss them, especially if you really helped raise them. And she said those were my kids. So she felt very like loving and maternal towards them. And I mean, it was their right to be like, yeah, you hurt my daddy, I'm not fooling with you. But I feel like that sucks for her, that she lost that in the process of trying to be with Joe or being with Joe. They were all making fun of Jennifer because a lady said something about her getting endorsements. They felt as though Jennifer spoke to the lady. Jennifer is like, I ain't never met this lady in my life. Like, so a lot of people felt like, the producers fed her lines. They get to Danielle and her brother situation. The lady talked about Danielle and her brother coming back together. And Jackie was like, I hope that happens for you. And Danielle was like, do you really? Like, do you really? And Jackie's like, yeah, I do. I really do. She's like, then why did you question my story? And Jackie was like, because it didn't make sense. And everyone else chimed in and said it didn't make sense. And you hear Melissa being like, don't walk away. And she was like, Danielle's like, I hate walking away. But it was like so much coming at me. You had this one, and she points to Rachel, like this one coming at me saying that I'm over here trying to smear Margaret's name. Then you have y'all talking about me and my brother, and it was just a lot. So I had to walk away because I couldn't take it anymore. Rachel's like, what did I do? And she was like, girl, you went back and tried to make it seem like I was trying to like throw salt on her name. And Rachel's like, I never said that. I just told her the truth. And the thing about it is that what Rachel did in some people's eyes could be said like a positive, like she ran back and told Margaret what it was because they're friends. But she also kind of disregarded her situation with Danielle. You're talking about, oh, I love that we're so close and we have this camaraderie. But like the moment you got tea on Danielle, or you felt like Danielle was saying something disparaging about Margaret, you dashed to her. So it's like, you can't say like, oh, like we're friends, when it's like you kind of threw your other friend under the bus. Because I did agree with Jennifer when she was like, you could have just kept it to yourself, because you could have. When Jennifer was laughing when Margaret was like, y'all are trying to act like I'm such a horrible person, I don't know why that tickled me, because Jennifer was getting a good kiki out of them arguing, and she wasn't in it. But yeah, they like stopped right there. Danielle pretty much don't like Rachel no more. She feels like Rachel threw her under the bus. And she was like, if she would have said sorry for what she did, we could have moved on. But some people feel like Rachel didn't do anything wrong because Rachel pretty much just said verbatim what you said. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think it was that bad of what Rachel did. I do feel like Danielle is kind of taking it a little too far. But I can also see from Danielle's standpoint, it's like if we're building a friendship and like we're just like, having a conversation, I will look at you funny if you ran back immediately and told somebody else what I said and then we got into it. That's just what it is. So we find out that they're going to Ireland. Next episode, that is going to be their cash trip. It looked like shenanigans and mess. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Hop down in them comments below. Subscribe if you like what you heard. And I'm out. Deuces.